So on tonight's panel, we're lucky to be joined by Edmundus from EdiTravels. Edmundus founded EdiTravels out in Lithuania and then brought it here to Toronto. But it wasn't like a weird move for him because he worked in like 25 cities and got interested in chatbots traveling through China. It's really interesting to see how chatbots have grown internationally and what's being used in different parts of the world. We have Holly, who's a consulting lead from Ada. And Holly has been involved in chatbots generally from outside of travel since before they were called chatbots, back when it was just an academic thing, just natural language processing. So really interested to hear about how chatbots are being used outside of travel and what the cutting edge is. Yeah. And we've also got Mustafa, who's a product manager at Snap Travel. Became interested in chatbots just because it's an interesting interface that can touch every part of the travel experience. And also, from my understanding, is the head of design, or leads a lot of design.
I work with the design and front-end team to build any user-facing type of product.
So I'm interested to see how design interacts with something that technically is removing the visual user experience from the user's perspective. So thanks a lot to all of our panelists, and I think I'll just open up by asking. I mean, when I think about chatbots, when we first decided to do this focus, I always think about just I go to a website and something pops up and asks me if I want to ask any questions. That's kind of how I think about it. I'd like to hear how you guys define chatbots, or how do you think about chatbots if it's something broader or even more general. So why don't we start over here with Edmundus, and we'll move down.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I have a really broad chatbot definition. So whatever mimics kind of a human interaction, doesn't even have to be text or audio. It can be some visual communication. It's a chatbot, right? If you're exchanging information, chatting, talking to it, that's it. And in travel, you have so much moving pieces, so much information, and people do a lot of research for travel. So chatbots can really help and automate it from all kinds of angles, from a first kind of search to getting deeper into some product that you like to purchase.
Interesting. So I think there's sort of like a couple different ways to think about it. So one of them would be, you can almost think of it as like a digital concierge. So maybe someone or a robot who is helping you navigate a website as opposed to you sort of scrolling through tons of like FAQs. It's going to be something that is like taking you right to where you need to go. That could be through like linking you to a page on the website or specific information. But then also something that we're doing at Ada is being more sort of personalized. So integrating with like a system's backend and then getting personalized information about like an authenticated user, and as opposed to telling them like, you can find your flight information here, like on some sort of web page or something like that, we can just present it to them right in the bot.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you guys said. Just to add on top of that, I think at Snap Travel, kind of one of our vision and kind of mission statements is that chatbots should be as simple as talking to a friend, and that's kind of like the experience that we want. So your friend could text you, they can talk to you over the phone, they can talk to you in real life, whatever it may be. That's how we kind of define chatbots. So being able to interact, whether it's in a customer service perspective or you're trying to buy something, we do this every day. So why can't you do it with a machine?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's great. Yeah, that covers a lot of ground. I think Christian mentioned in his preface that one question that we got a bunch when we were confronting this theme was, are chatbots going to replace people who are talking to people about travel? And I know the response to that typically is, chatbots cover a baseline of questions about travel experiences, but then eventually a person steps in. And I guess to take that kind of approach to it, when is it appropriate for a person to step in, and when is a chatbot more appropriate, and is that changing? Are chatbots taking on more? Whoever wants to cover it.
I will jump in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was saying I had an analogy earlier of like, you know, when you're at the grocery store and you have like one banana and you just want to check out with your one banana, but there's people with carts in front of you full of groceries. The chatbot is the one that's going to help you with like your one banana, and you can get out of the way, and the people with like all the groceries that need the person, they can stay in line. So that's kind of what I'm thinking of, like in terms of the agents, the travel agents, is like they don't need to handle the like small one-off questions, or even the questions that maybe are, if you're like in the airport and you need to know something right away and you're waiting in line to talk to an agent, or you're on hold with your travel agent trying to like get in touch with them, and by the time you get in touch with them, like that ship has sailed, literally. Like, it's over, you've missed your flight. So what it does is it helps basically funnel the people who really need to talk to somebody to the person, and then it offloads the people who don't necessarily need to talk to somebody, and then it gives the like travel agent more job satisfaction because they're not just like dealing with angry people who've been sitting on hold or waiting for an email response, but instead dealing with sort of more fulfilling interactions.
Mm-hmm. So Eddie and Mustafa, maybe you can pick up the other side of that. Like, is that split shifting at all? Do you see that shifting at all in travel? Are chatbots going to take up more of the travel experience?
I think as people get used to interacting with chatbots more, they're getting comfortable to it. But I think in the beginning, it's kind of something foreign. They don't even know that they can do a lot of things. Like, for example, people that use our bot, they don't know that they can say, hey, find me a hotel in Vegas that has a pool and is pet friendly. So for them, that's kind of very foreign and tough to actually do. But as you design the right chat experiences and you kind of guide them through it. That's the tough part, like you mentioned, because you don't have UI elements, it's tough to even guide the user through the experience. So a big part of when you're using chatbots is you have to kind of give them hints into how they can take the next step or how they can start using your chatbot in the future.
So when the person, real person should step in really depends on the use case and, well, the customer, right? So in the ADA support case, if you want to get the answer really quick, of course, chatbot automation is going to be great. Then you're starting to explore for your new trip and you're just doing a search, that can work really well. Once the question gets to something very serious and you have a serious, I don't know, medical issue, you want a real doctor to take a look at it, and you're not going to trust just a chatbot for that. So it really depends on a user, on their preferences, on their use case. We really, the Eddie Travels, were targeting the millennial generation. They really prefer to search and purchase online. And then they go to stores really to compare for prices, or maybe find some customization. And the way we see it is that we were kind of generating customers for travel agents and for travel companies, and we're looking for more travel partners also to send our users as customers to them. Yeah, for younger people or in specific case, people really prefer chatbot, and then the real person only needs to step in, and it's something like really personal touch is needed yeah.
Makes sense. Back to me with my comically tiny mic. So we've got up here, we've got Eddie Travels, and we've got Snap Travel. Also in the room, we've got another great group, Hello Goodbye, doing really cool stuff around chatbots. But how are chatbots being used outside of travel? Like, what is like the cutting edge of chatbots?
Well, okay. I'll start with a travel example.
Okay.
So AirAsia is one of our clients, and they're doing a lot of the cutting edge stuff, so it's a good example.
Great.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So in terms of kind of what I said before about personalizing that experience, so sort of two things. One is, and sort of piggybacking on the last question, is that now you can use sort of your best agent as the voice of your chatbot that is like now going to touch thousands of people, as opposed to like the one phone call they can take at a time or something like that. So beyond that, though, with integrations with like like an API to get information if they're authenticated in your backend system, for example. Now you can, with AirAsia, even without authenticating, if you have your booking number, you can check your flight status, or you can check a flight status based on like locations and or like dates. Then now we're moving to the next phase of you can process a refund within the bot. So they're doing that kind of thing. We're now also doing things like if your name was printed wrong on your ticket, you can update, make like amendments, because we can, again, with like an API, like post changes to that backend system information. We can also offer up from like monetizing the experience standpoint of, great, you've like amended your ticket. Do you also want to purchase an in-flight meal or that kind of thing? So before, where maybe not that many people were being presented with that opportunity because they weren't seeking it out. Now, once we sort of have their attention in the bot with whatever it is that they're there to do, we're now taking the next step of like proactively suggesting, maybe also help you with this. The other cool thing, like sort of cutting edge wise, is beyond that sort of, as we all know, like you go to a website and the bot pops up and is like, let me know if I can help you with something. So now we're also taking it a step further and sort of customizing it based on like, okay, like if they're coming in on sort of this specific page that's about like seat upgrades or something like that, then when that pops up, make the next piece like specifically about that, not just like the general introduction of the bot. We're using a lot of like APIs, like I mentioned, but also like data dumps as well of like once you've gone to the website, if the website can pass information to the bot to be used sort of as like placeholder information, it can sort of use your name or know where you're coming from. So if there are like promotions, for example, that are only available in certain areas, then it's only going to sort of recommend those specific things based on the sort of unique chatter profile.
To answer your question, what's the cutting edge? So I don't know if you would consider virtual assistants, but Google is pretty much the cutting edge of chatbots, because a virtual assistant like Google Assistant is pretty much a chatbot, whether you're talking to it, whether you're texting it, whatever it may be, and they pretty much have the largest amount of data that they can work with, and that's pretty much like artificial intelligence. It's the more data you have, the more you can train the model, the smarter it gets. So if you're talking about that, if you want to exclude them and you just want to include the peasant companies, I would probably say Drift does a lot of good work there. They do conversational marketing. So a lot of companies that are in B2B companies that work with like bigger, they have sales teams and whatnot. They usually use Drift to put that chatbot on their website, and that actually allows them to generate way more leads compared to different channels like email and signing up to a forum or whatever it may be, because a chatbot is able to answer a lot of your questions up front, and then after they answer the questions, they're like, okay, do you want to book a demo, or do you want to do this, or do you want to do that? So they've been doing a lot of good work that has been helping a lot of businesses grow as well. So.
Yeah, sadly, the travel industry is not really leading in chatbots, or that's kind of just travel is kind of piggybacking on other big players in tech industry. So yeah, Google Assistant, Amazon Alexa, they're really making the waves. And even big travel companies, firstly, they go and test it out on other platforms. Facebook, of course, of all their chatbot platform experiments is another big player. And yeah, we can see from Expedia, Kayak, Booking Holdings, they all go and firstly build something on those platforms, and then they come back and they start experimenting on their own platforms and the new products. Really, if we look at industries that drive the development in chatbots, it's going to be support. So Ada is a great example, of course. But financial industry, other industries where they open more APIs and more data. Another thing in travel industry, people are pretty afraid to share the data, share the APIs. There's a lot of closed walled gardens, but For example, something like PSD2 initiative in financial industry in Europe, where all your financial banking data can be opened to any startup, any service. That's driving a lot of innovation of using chatbot technologies to bring new products in the market.
Awesome. Makes a lot of sense. One interesting piece that was there, I like to end panels with a positive note, but before the positive note, one thing that came up was Google and getting into travel through this kind of persistent AI. Does anyone want to take me up on the idea that travel is just going to be completely disrupted by chatbots from the beginning that I kind of dismissed? Is that a possibility that Google is just going to own everything by being in your house and being in your thoughts all the time?
I think Google is already taking over every company I've been at. Google becomes a threat at one point in time. So I wouldn't just, I guess, say it would be related to chatbots. It would be related to anything. I think a big part of it is they always try to build the right user experience and add value to those people. And as long as they successfully continue doing that, they'll always disrupt a lot of these industries, basically.
Yeah. In case Google is listening, I love Google. But,
Me
yeah.
too, me too, me too.
Yeah, I can continue on that. So Google already integrated their Google Hotels, Google Flights, Google Trips to Google Assistant. They just recently launched a new kind of like integrated experience, Google Trips on the web for all of that. So clearly they're making waves there. But I would look actually at Amazon disrupting travel with chatbots.
Okay.
They have way bigger platform with devices that are available, 3-4 times more than Google Home. I think they're educating the users a lot more. They're more aggressive, and seems like that Amazon is already looking into travel. So I think they're going to learn from Google, as they do and have done in many instances in the past. And I would put my money on Amazon, but yeah, there's a lot
Yeah, with my analyst hat on, you know, Amazon with cash could buy Booking.com. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. So I think like from a generalist perspective, maybe, but at the same time, within like companies or airlines or things like that, I think at the end of the day, like still a lot of what they're working on has to live sort of in-house or like with a third party assisting them or that kind of thing. Because I think basically at the end of the day, like maybe Amazon or Google will sort of get them there, but like closing the deal or like, you know, actually doing the like tasks like that I mentioned before, I don't know, like they wouldn't, I don't think each company at the end, like yes, maybe they'll buy them all, but I don't think like they're necessarily gonna have that sort of deep integration with each individual company.
Yeah, fair point. Awesome. Well, before we open it up to the crowd, I do like to stop this portion on a positive note. What's just one thing that gets you really excited about the future of chatbots, whether it's an idea or something you can point people to go check out?
I'm actually excited about how chatbots can help customers travel better, but actually help travel agents, all the people in the travel industry, take out the dull part of the answering stupid questions about safety, visa, or vaccines, or anything simple like that, and really focus on personalizing their offers. Just providing more value to their core of their products and services to travelers. And if you look at data, depending on where you look, recently there's been an increase in travel agents in the United States and Canada. So even though all of the chatbots and all the automation, there's still so much travel to go around. So yeah.
I think there's incredible power to be sort of harnessed. So like AirAsia, for example, they had wait times of like 90 minutes and their customers wanted to talk to them on WhatsApp and like through these other channels, but AirAsia was like, we can't do that because we don't have the capacity. And so then when they implemented Ada, they got their wait times down to like under 5 minutes. So now it's opening up these it's opening up the possibility for companies to be able to do what their customers want. And I think that's super powerful. And at the same time, now their agents are going to have sort of not this like soul crushing, like underwater in life with their job, like where it's just like we can't handle all the calls or that kind of thing. So I think it's a great sort of win-win situation where the customers at the end of the day are happier because they're getting what they want, and the agents at the end of the day are in a better position.
I'll give you a stat. There's about 300,000 developers that build chatbots on Facebook Messenger. We're the #1 grossing chatbot there, but 300,000 people, companies, people, and this is just the beginning. How long has chatbot been around? Like, or at least the hype, maybe a couple of years, maybe 2-3 years. As time passes by and as these platforms evolve, I think there's a tremendous amount of opportunity being created, not just for companies, but for users having a better experience. And like going back to the same kind of vision statement that we have is being able to talk to your friend. Imagine that friend just has the hookup with all the hotels in the world, and you can just get the cheapest prices. You're just telling him, hey, I'm actually looking to get a hotel in Vegas, and here's my kind of budget, and somebody books it for you, negotiates an upgrade, and I don't know, maybe orders some bubbly for you, something like that.
Awesome. So before we open it up to the crowd, one thing I forgot to do at the beginning is shout out to Techstars for bringing Eddie Travels to Toronto and helping us set up this panel today. But yeah, thanks to our panelists. With that, we're going to open up to the audience if you guys have any questions at all for any of the panelists. Start in here.
I'm obviously a user of chatbots and I've implemented chatbots, and it could be incredibly frustrating when a customer goes on and it doesn't get the right answer. I know this from my own house, for example. I have Google Assistant everywhere, and when it turns the light on or it doesn't do what I ask, it's incredibly frustrating. So what's the technology like when you get something wrong? How does it improve over time? Like what do the companies do, particularly companies like you mentioned AirAsia, right? I mean, if a customer comes in and doesn't get the right answer, they'll be very, very, very frustrated right from the get-go.
Yes, excellent question. So I have sort of two things. One is, so the way our technology works, so I don't know in terms of other companies. So the way it works is that, let's say someone comes in, they ask a question, and then maybe they ask something like super broad, and there's multiple things in the bot that could answer that, so the bot doesn't know, right? I like to think about if you go to your bank and you're just like, deposit, the teller's gonna have to be like, to which account? Like, it's not, like they're not our mind reader, right? We can't expect the bot to be a mind reader. So our technology will sort of serve up an answer that says, I don't really know what you're talking about. Do you mean like this, this, or this? And it will give them sort of its best guess. So then when the person selects the answer that they want, and let's say it's the one they were looking for, and they give it a thumbs up rating, their question that they asked originally now gets added as like machine learning training, so that in future if someone asks that same question or something very similar to it, they'll get an answer. So that's step one. Step two is, okay, let's say they do that a bunch of times. So we work with TELUS, for example. So TELUS has implemented something where, let's say they get that, I don't really know what you're talking about, answer twice in a row or 3 times. Then they'll add something like, okay, like let me put you in touch with somebody. So we're not in the business of like stopping people from escalating or talking to a human. We want people to sort of give the bot a chance because it is in their best interest. They're likely to get an answer faster. But in those cases where it's just not working for them, we will put them in touch with someone. The beauty is, though, that then we pass along like the transcript and any information we collected about the chatter to the agent, so they don't have to repeat themselves again when they get in touch with somebody. The other thing that like Kudo is doing is they actually don't do any sort of like immediate live handoff. They allow you to schedule a callback. So now their agents aren't spending the first 5 minutes saying like, I'm so sorry that you've been waiting on hold, like, apology. It's, yeah, great, let me like immediately answer your question because I've already looked at what you've talked about, and I called you back at the time that you were expecting, and it's just like a way smoother experience.
Let's just take one step back. How many times you had experience where you're calling someone, especially let's say like a big bank. I'm a customer of CIBC, not to mention names. I had some experiences when I'm calling, spending half an hour on a call, and just for a call to be dropped or the rep not being able to answer my question. So this happens to humans too. Just with chatbots, you're gonna get that error mistake a lot faster, and then it's up to developers to learn from all the mistakes, record all of it. But even before they get to that mistake, make sure that you have the data to build the context and the profile of a user to have better answer curated for that specific user. And that's really a question of opening APIs and having more data about people, but doing it in some kind of responsible fashion where bad actors couldn't abuse the data. In the end, to really have good chatbots, you really need data and user profiles and in context, even before you get to that mistake.
I'm waiting for the time when I say, hey, book a trip to Toronto, and it books Toronto, Pennsylvania, or something like that.
We're getting there with Eddie Travel.
I agree with everything that they said, especially Holly. I think definitely trying to train our models depending on failures that happen, and in certain situations we'll definitely have I think a lot of people fail when they're building chatbots. They kind of try to cram it in all into the chatbot experience. We think about it in a three-pronged approach. There's a chatbot, there's a human agent, and there's UI, and kind of allowing the user to be able to use the right experience for them. So certain chatbots are really great for certain things like starting a search or whatever it may be. Humans are really great if you have an issue and you want to get somebody to cancel your vacation or this or that. Actually, certain people prefer just talking to a human. Like you mentioned, travel agents are still popular. Still people go to their travel agents. And some other people just prefer talking to buttons, I guess. You look at the button, you want to interact with a map, you want to see the hotel on a map, you want to look at pictures, you want to do whatever it may be. So we allow our users to use whatever experience works best for them at that point.
I think Finn had a question over here.
A question I was wondering about is, like, with chatbots, how do people feel? Like, do you have sentiment analysis or anything like that to see how chatbots react when people know they're a chatbot or when they're thinking to a human, and sort of where do you guys think it's important to say you are speaking to a chatbot or letting them think it's a human, and how does that play out?
So we leverage, so as those conversational platforms develop, they build features that we are able to take advantage of it. One of those features is called personas that Facebook Messenger developed, and that allows you as an organization, usually when somebody's talking to you and they're talking to Snap Travel, they would assume it was a bot from the initial experience, and as it transitions to an agent, we actually say it would transition and there would be like the picture of an agent, and it would say, Henry from Snap Travel just is talking to you right now, and you're interacting with it. So I think it's very critical to always be upfront and honest to your users, because they'll easily sniff your bullshit. And so you want to be able to provide a good experience for them at the same time.
I 100% agree. Yeah, you want to make sure you're like upfront right away that it's a bot, because I was talking to some people before, and if you think it's a person and you're talking to them, the bot usually is pretty good at answering, but it's also best practice to sort of like generalize some answers so that you're sort of catering to the largest audience. Maybe you make it warm and friendly, but at the same time, it's not as nuanced as having a conversation with a person. And so definitely you like read through conversations with the bot, and people think it's a person, and they just think they're either talking to someone who's like really cold and like rude, or like an idiot, because it's like you're not understanding what I'm saying. So definitely being super upfront that like you're talking to a bot. And then we too have something where it's like, it's called A the Glass, and you can have through like a live chat platform, the agent will enter the conversation and then like hand you back to the bot when they're done. But we make it super clear that like, and now you're talking to a person, and now we're not.
Yeah, definitely upfront communication, just add to that, and make sure that people understand at what level or what time the real person is going to step in, if they will step in at all. And if they step in, why do they step in here? All of these things have to be done in context, because it does look really weird when, let's say, you're looking for some travel product, and 3 hours later, a random person writes you, "Hey, here's additional deal for this travel product." Like, what? Like, it's just random people. It seems like random people are messaging you out of other part of the world. So it's just communication and being clear of what's your main value proposition. Our vision was from beginning that it's technology-driven chatbot and really focusing on our own natural language processing, which would cover all the case. And we proud ourselves of having just one travel advisor, real person, for having these, helping only the niche cases where chatbot really fails. Otherwise, we just direct the users to our travel partners to find for that specific product.
All right, we got time for a couple more questions. Hey, Mustafa over here.
So for those of us in the audience that would like to make a purchase decision and say, what's the best chat box for me? What do you think are some pointers to what would make a great chat box experience for users and customers?
Can you just clarify, like, you want to build your own chatbot and how to build the best experience, or
So let's say, for instance, I would like to talk to Ada and tell them to come and implement their chatbot service with my business. What would be the pointers that would tell me this company is doing a good job at developing chatbots and this company is not doing such a good job?
I would really focus again on who's the target audience, who's your user, what other needs do you really need? Can, like, chatbot work better than a regular mobile app or website and digital UI or a real person there? Make sure the answer is yes before you go and build anything or outsource software development. I would recommend go and experiment yourself over a weekend. There's Google Dialogflow, Chat Funnel. You can really just sign up and play with those technologies and see how they can work for you. It's pretty easy to create some conversations or branches of conversations. Train on Dialogflow for small talk and get started. Experiment and then see if this kind of experience would work, and maybe even put that experience in front of some potential users for testing.
I feel like I'm biased. Yeah, I think user experience obviously huge. But to be totally honest, there's not a ton of variation in like front end user like the UI of chatbots. It's sort of big and there are buttons and things like that. So what I would look for if I was a company buying a chatbot would be, do I have the resources to put towards this project? One of the things that Ada does really well is that it's built for a non-technical audience. So you can take your best agent or your best person that you wish could have 100 conversations at once, but they can't. And you can actually take them and make them sort of what we would call like the bot manager or the ACX, or automated customer experience manager, and like build a whole team around that where now they're the voice of your chatbot basically. And so I would also look at sort of like the ease of implementation, like how quickly you can get it up online, and also the support you receive. So my role at Ada is to manage the team of our ACX consultants who are there to help you implement the product. So we've had clients come to us who've gone to other companies who were basically just like, given the software and then the company walks away. And obviously everybody's not an expert at building bots, so like that doesn't really work. So the point of like our team and what we do is we want to say like, okay, you're the expert on your company. We'll teach you how to be an expert in the like platform, and now you go and do your best work with the software, basically.
Quickly, I'll just say you need to ask yourself one question. Does this chatbot add value to your user or not? And if the answer is no, or if the answer is I don't necessarily know, then chances are you shouldn't use chatbot. You should figure out the best way that you can add value to the users. I think chatbots could be very helpful in so many different ways, but trying to cram the user experience because you're trying to use the next big thing, whether it's AI or whatever buzzword that you're hearing, doesn't necessarily mean that that's the best decision.
Awesome. Great. Very honest answer to say you might not want to use a chatbot. But yeah, we got one more question over here.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation, guys. Really interesting stuff. My questions actually was around that adding value. Have any of you got any data or that you've seen that we were talking before that some people might prefer to communicate directly with a chatbot, others might not? Have there been any good A/B testing for whether it's net promoter scores or customer satisfaction scores from people that have 50% of an audience sent to a chatbot, 50 gone to a real user? Is there any good case studies you've seen that compare the both?
Yeah, we actually do a ton of A/B testing. We actually did run an experiment, and I can't say who, but we ran it with a very popular booking website, and we basically took some of their users, took them through our flow, and the others through the normal flow, and our flow converted at a much higher percentage. So that provides value definitely for the company, but for the users, in the end of the day, when you actually look at the people that ended up booking, the customer satisfaction was much better. And the big reasons for that was you had one platform where you could do everything in, right? So you can start off the search experience, you actually do the booking, and then after it, if you have problems with the booking, you need to cancel, whatever it is, it's all in kind of one headspace. So when you're thinking about it like in a box in your head, it's all in one place that you can easily come back to. And another is you can leverage a lot of the chat features like notifications, to be able to give them, like the day before, we always send them like a check-in message saying, hey, you're all set to go. We actually found an upgrade for you for free. And then we say, okay, here's the directions to Google Maps for that hotel. You can also order an Uber. You allow them to you make the experience better as long as you're adding value to their journey. That's what matters in the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned before the AirAsia example of, people are infuriated waiting to talk to somebody, so now they can get their answers quickly, they can do things in the bot. So like their NPS, I don't have the exact numbers, but we've met with them obviously on an ongoing basis, and they're getting super positive feedback about this new experience. I would say too, we've got, obviously at our company, because we're sort of support based as well, we really value, again, that internal support agent experience. So, we want to balance okay, are the end users happy, but also are our customers' users happy, essentially, if that makes sense. So we've got on our website, I don't have any of the stats in my head, but we've got lots of white papers and things like that about that type of thing. And in terms of just even the ability to implement this solution quickly so that, again, their job satisfaction is improved, and so on an ongoing basis, they're not, again, drowning in this terrible work.
So if you're looking for general research, I would recommend Google together with Focusfire. They did a great research about it. And then there's a Canadian company, Smooch, that has a lot of nice data and summaries, that general research. In general, if ADA support, for example, wouldn't be saving time for their customers, they wouldn't be here. And if we wouldn't see improving retention and engagement month after month after launching Eddie Travels, we probably wouldn't be participating in the discussion panel right now. So yeah, I mean, we cannot say that it's real A/B experiment because we were never web-based or mobile-based before. So we don't have real data. Let's say it's apples and oranges, and apples are performing better, but we're happy where we're heading with Eddie Travels. So.
Awesome. Well, that's a great way to end. I mean, chatbots are here to stay, and you guys are obviously doing really well and driving the future of this interesting technology. With that, I hope everybody has enjoyed the night tonight. If you're interested in getting involved, either as a sponsor or as a volunteer, you can email Ashley with a GH at techtoronto.org. If you don't know where the GH goes in that name, you can connect with me after. You can get your tickets for the next event. It's going to be in August. It's a great time.
August 14th.
Thanks everybody for coming out. Really appreciate it. The bar is still open until 9:30. 9. Bar is still open. So thanks a lot, everybody. Really appreciate it.
Go Raptors.
Thanks to our panel.
Thank you.